So that was a little jazz lick that I just came up with based on pentatonic scale ideas. So the reason I've been thinking about these pentatonic scale ideas is because I've been teaching these free bass lessons recently. So 2 weeks ago, when the coronavirus thing hit, I had to move all my business online. And so I've been offering anyone who follows my bass practice diary a chance to have a free bass lesson with me online just to try it out. And this came out of one of those lessons actually, because I had a guy contact me who was actually a really good bass player, and he was saying to me that he wanted to work on some pentatonic ideas, but that whenever you go online and look for pentatonic ideas, what you get is loads of videos targeted at beginners. It seems that as far as Google is concerned, that pentatonic scales are only for beginners, which is ridiculous, because pentatonic scales are so fundamental to just virtually every form of music that you can think of, and pentatonic melodies have a really, really distinct character, and it's a question of how you use that character in your music. It's got nothing to do with whether it's easy or hard or not. It's entirely about how you apply it, and you can apply it in kind of an easy way, a simple way, or you can come up with imaginative and original ways to do it. So anyway, just to clarify, when I'm talking about the pentatonic scale, the major pentatonic and the minor pentatonic, they're just modes of the same scale. So it's essentially the same scale. It's the pentatonic scale. I know that technically a pentatonic scale could be any scale that has 5 notes in it, but I'm thinking about the one that everybody knows. So this one. So that could be either A minor or C major, depending on the context. So if you play it over an A minor chord, it's A minor pentatonic, but if you play it over a C major chord, then it's a C major pentatonic scale. So anyway, that's the scale I'm talking about. And that lick that I came up with is based on 3 pentatonic scales. So each one a semitone apart. Now what I'm doing is I'm thinking in the key of D major, and I'm thinking about 2-5-1 ideas in the key of D major. So even though I'm thinking in the key of D major pentatonic is not one of the scales I'm using. The scales I'm using are E minor pentatonic, F minor pentatonic, and F sharp minor pentatonic. So 3 minor pentatonic scales a semitone apart. Now, why am I choosing those 3 pentatonic scales? Well, as I say, I'm thinking 2-5-1 ideas here. So the chord 2 in the D major would be E minor. So obviously that's why the E minor pentatonic scale. There's nothing particularly controversial about using an E minor pentatonic scale on an E minor chord. So it sounds something like this. So yeah, there's nothing really controversial there. Everyone's familiar with that kind of sound. So why the F minor pentatonic scale? Well, the whole idea of these 2-5-1 ideas is that you've got this kind of inside, outside, inside thing going on. So you've got like playing inside notes, meaning notes from within the key on the 2 chord. Then you play outside notes on the 5 chord to create this tension, and then you resolve that tension by going back inside and playing the inside notes again on the 1 chord. So the F minus pentatonic scale actually gives you all of the outside notes in the key of D major. So it's a really, really uncomfortable sounding scale in this key. So if you think you've got the notes F, A flat, B flat, C, E flat, those are not notes that belong in the key of D major. And we're going to use those notes on the A7 chord, on the 5 chord. So I'm going to particularly focus on the B flat, the C, the E flat, and the F. You've got to be a little bit careful about how you use that A flat note on an A7 chord, because it's the major 7, so it's a slightly weird sounding note. Not that you can't use it, you've just got to be careful how you use it. But I'm particularly focusing on these notes. So that's the sound of the, so basically what that gives you, it's like a kind of flat 5, a flat 13, a flat 9, and a sharp 9. So they're all outside notes, but they're all kind of legitimate chord extensions that you can use on an altered dominant chord. And then finally you've got the F sharp minor 7s, which I'm going to play on the 1 chord, the D major chord. So why F sharp minor rather than D major? So D major would be the same as B minor. Well, I just think it's a slightly more interesting sounding scale to play on a D major chord. It gives you they're all inside notes. So you've got F sharp, which would be the 3rd, you've got A, which would be the 5th, then you've got B, which would be like a 6th, and then you've got C sharp, which would be the major 7th, and then you've got E, which would be the 9th. So it sounds something like this. So it's all, again, fairly safe, fairly nice sounding. So it's really all about creating that tension on the 5 chord and then resolving it onto the 1 chord. So you could use this lick that I've written as just a kind of straight ahead jazz lick on a 2-5-1 in D major, and it would sound something like this: a 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. And it works in that context of just a jazz 2-5-1. But to be honest, that's not really the way that I would necessarily think about using it, or it's not really what I had in mind when I was writing it. Because jazz musicians love to use these 2-5-1 ideas, even in places where they're not using 2-5-1s. So even when they're not playing on a 2-5-1 progression, they'll still throw in these melodic 2-5-1 ideas. And it just sounds cool because it's that thing of inside, outside, inside. So you're kind of superimposing the 5 chord to play all these outside notes. Anyway, let me give you a demonstration of what I mean. So if I just play the same lick, but just literally play it on an E minor 7 chord. So just thinking like a modal thing. You're playing a modal groove, you're just stuck on an E minor chord. You could play this same lick and it would sound like this. Anything that is kind of related to D major. So you could play on a D major chord and it would just give you that kind of 2-5-1 sound. You could play it, you could make it a kind of Lydian thing by playing it on a G major chord, or you could play it on like an A7 chord. So playing it on the 5 chord, it would sound like this. So yeah, that's just one idea of how you can apply pentatonic scales in a more kind of adventurous way in modern jazz. And yeah, I'll probably put some more of these videos out because these pentatonic ideas are really, really cool ideas to use in a jazz context.